Hi you guys, it's Lisa. Thanks for stopping by my channel. Today we're going to do some art journal pages and we're going to actually finish some. As promised, we're going to start a little series here and see if this is something that you guys actually like to see. So I have all these backgrounds in my art journals. This one is in a wallpaper journal that I created. And this big one here is in my Grumbacher in and out page journal. And I was just putting some paint down on that, and that's how it ended up. Never finished. So we're going to do two of these today. Here's a stencil that I've had in my stash, never used. And also here is a sentiment that I had printed on some tissue paper, and it says, "Life is art, paint your dreams." And I thought, well, that looks pretty good. It goes with that stencil. Let's see how it works and turns out. Let me know in the comments below if you like this series, and we'll go from there. If you absolutely hate it, of course, we will not do it for very long, and I'll just do the backgrounds on my own. Here I'm using that stencil and some black embossing paste, which I really, really love. It kind of turns out a little bit like black vinyl. And I'll show you in the pictures, of course, at the end. I'm just using a wet brush to go around my sentiment and get off some of those sharp square edges. I wanted it to be a little bit more soft on the edges. And then I'm kind of doing placement in my head, and I'm thinking I'm going to need to separate that sentiment, and we will go from there and see how it works out. I love that sentiment though, and I thought it would look really cool with this stencil of the brushes. So just using a plastic palette knife, and here's my idea. I thought, well, you know, I should put some spray adhesive on the back of this stencil. So I got that out before I got started. And I used this Easy Tack, and I sprayed it in my garbage can, and I just set it aside to dry a little bit. So here it is, and we're going to find my placement, stick that baby down, and we're going to use this black embossing paste. Like I said, this is a pretty good product. You can see I'm getting to the end of my jar, but I'm probably not going to buy any more. I'm going to use what I have in my stash right now. But I do put things like that on my shopping list if I use the end of it. So when I'm looking around and I have maybe a coupon or something I need to use and I can't find anything, then I will go ahead and replace that item. So I wanted to get to the edge. I'm being very careful so that I don't go over, cleaning up my little area there because I don't want black paste all over everything. And when I'm filming this is actually pretty late at night. So I was kind of surprised how well it turned out. I'm going to go to the sink and clean that off, and I'm going to do that other little edge. And I'm sorry that my hand gets in the way there, but I really need to hold it down. And I don't want the stencil to stick on that other portion that I've already stenciled, because then I'll have a mess. So I'm being very careful, using the other part of that stencil, and voila, look at that. Turned out pretty cool. I got a little bit there, but you know, we'll try and cover it up. So now I'm just placing my sentiment. How is it going to go? I'm going to have to divide that love is art, and I think that works. So I'm putting my sentiment down that's printed on tissue paper, and I'm using matte medium. Just going over it with a soft brush, putting matte medium down, putting matte medium over the top, and sealing it real well. And then I needed to go to bed, because, like I said, it was getting pretty late at night for me. I hope that this is going to be kind of interesting for you, because it would really give me a great opportunity to finish a lot of these background pages and yet create some content for my channel and, you know, entertain you at the same time. So this one, I thought, oh, more I thought about it, I'm like, is this really going to get kind of difficult? But you'll see how I worked it. And here's the second one. I pulled a few things out of my stash. I got a couple of little dragonflies that I had cut out and a sentiment, and it says, "Today is full of happiness." And I'm just getting placement, and I'll tell you about the background here. It is in my wallpaper journal that I created, and I just put down some pieces of a die that I used for some cards, and I couldn't bear to give the scraps, and I adhered them down, and I put some gesso over them, and I also put my wash of burnt umber and water to create that washed background antiqued look, and some blue paint that I just had that I didn't want to get rid of. And here I'm using some of Dina Wakley's scribble sticks. I'm trying to use these. These have been in my stash and I don't use them very often. So I'm trying, like I said, to use what I have. I'm blending it with a baby wipe, and I thought the color of the green would go nicely with those dragonflies. Here's a little bit of peacock blue, I think it was called, and I thought I would try and add a little bit of that, blending it with my baby wipe also, using some water there and pushing it around with my finger. Really just playing. And here I did purchase a dark brown marabou crayon, and I thought maybe that would give it a little border, but it seemed a little dark for me. So I was fishing around for my vintage photo distress crayon by Tim Holtz, and that did the ticket. I needed that warm brown color, and I'm just creating a small border there. Going back with a little bit more of that blue and going around those circles, using my finger, which is a little bit wet, and just blending it, just trying to make the background pop a little bit, adding a little bit more water. Here I'm just pushing it around with a brush. I think I'm digging out those, dies. And these are really super great. And maybe I will make a card and just quick show you what I'm talking about. But they cut out these really cool background portions, and I couldn't bear to get rid of them. So I threw them in my stash, and obviously they worked for another project, because here we are. I'm going to adhere these dragonflies down with some matte gel because they're a little bit thicker and my background is a little bit textured. So instead of struggling with the matte medium, I thought I'd go right to the matte gel, and it was a good idea. It stuck them down real nice. Putting down that sentiment, and it says, "Today is full of happiness." So like I said, this was late at night. I am kind of putting the spin on my next day, and it worked. Today was a great day that I'm doing this voiceover and finished things up, and I got a lot done today, so must have worked. I hope you guys are following me on Instagram. That would be awesome if you did. My Instagram channel is created by Lisa Thill also, and I have links down below in my description, so be sure to check me out there. You'll get sneak peeks of videos that are coming up and different projects that I'm working on. I'm really trying to increase my Instagram knowledge, so if anyone has any great tips for me, I'd be happy to hear them. Here I thought maybe it would be a good idea if I used some matte medium and went over the whole piece. And the reason being is because I knew I was going to use my Stabilo All pencil and get in. Here I'm showing you that I wanted to put some gesso or paint in the areas of the brushes that were showing through. So I wasn't quite sure how I was going to go about it. I used some of this paper that I have from some labels, and I've been using it as palette paper, and it works just fine. So I was choosing a few colors, and I have some dark brown for the bristles of the brushes, I was thinking, some silver for the furrow, I believe, of the brush, and I'm using the same green, that ocean green that I had for the starburst that was already on the paper, and some bright orange that I thought I would use for some handles of the brushes to keep the color palette kind of going all together. And when I started doing this, the paint wasn't really covering very well, so the silver was still a little bit transparent. So I stopped everything and grabbed my gesso and went back in and colored in those areas with gesso. It did take a little bit of time, but the end result was very much worth it. And those are the types of things when you're creating, you just figure it out. So I wiped up that paint, went back in, covered it all with gesso, and then covered it with my paint, my acrylic paint. So I will show you here in just a little bit how it turned out. I did it, of course, off camera, so I wouldn't make this video be way too long. And a good tip that I figured out is that when you may get a little bit of gesso on that black stenciling portion, when it's all dry, you can go back and go around with the black Sharpie, and then it really crisps up those lines. So let's see what I got here for you. See how it all looks? It looks real good. And then I wanted to put down some paint so that it looked like the paintbrushes had paint on them, and it would tie in with that Paint Your Dreams. So I'm just smudging some real dark purple paint and using my water and letting it run, dabbing it up with my clean towel there. And I thought that really is cool. I really liked that, how it ran down the page, and pretty darn happy with this background. And look, a great art journal page that we created together. I will list all the supplies below, including the colors of the paint, that stencil that I used, and everything else that I can think of. And I appreciate if you go ahead and take a look at those supplies, and if you need something, use the links and get a few things. It's always great. But be sure that you're using what you have. I can't stress that enough. Art doesn't have to be expensive. We just have to be creative. Okay, so here's the other one that I was working on. Everything's dry, and I wanted to use my black Stabilo All pencil and a little bit of water and my paintbrush, and I'm just going around the insides of those circles and giving it a little spray and letting it run and create some really cool texture. Dabbing up with my wet baby wipe. And it was a real fun technique. It added a real nice depth to the piece. So I'll go ahead and do both pages. There it is, and everything's dry. And then I'm going around with some 6B extra soft charcoal pencil and giving the dragonflies, a little shadowing, smudging that charcoal pencil with my finger. It's really coming to life now. That black Stabilo oil really added a lot of dimension in the background. And because I put that layer of the matte medium down and let it dry real good, it acts as a really good non-porous surface. So it's allowing me to put those water-soluble products on top. Like I said, I hope you liked these art journal pages, and I'll try and do 1 or 2 each Saturday. Here's a little bit of that blue paint that I had left over from the other art journal page, and I didn't want to waste it. I know I'm a freak that way. I just thought, well, it's kind of the same color of blue. I'll give it a little touch here and there and work it into the piece. I hate wasting my supplies. I'll have some still shots at the end of the video like I always do. I'm hoping you're enjoying this, and again, leave comments below and have a super great week. Tuesday we'll have a mixed media piece for you on my channel, and again, keep me in mind for Instagram. I'm really trying to learn that different avenue of social media, and it's quite interesting. There's a lot to it. Now I'm using that black chalk marker, chalk pen, and I'm going around the edges with smudging that black, and it really defines the end. The end result is just great. Trimming off that little tail of the dragonfly. I don't know why I'm so addicted to this last process of adding that black edge, but for me, I think it just finishes the piece. You can see my book is falling apart a little bit. I fixed it with some tape, and you'll probably see this art journal book in the future. I hope you liked it. Here is a Posca paint pen. I'm trying to find different paint markers, paint pens that'll work in my art journals and my mixed media projects. This one was recommended to me by someone that made a comment on my YouTube channel, and I told her that I would try it, and so far so good. I really like it. It doesn't seem to get clogged. It comes out real nice, and it is real opaque white. I'm going to do that black edge around this piece too. I think it'll be nice and just really finish it nice. I really like how these paintbrushes turned out. Well, again, you have a great week, and we will see you on Tuesday. Leave comments below and let me know what you think about this series. Thanks for watching.